young man, somewhere in his late 20s, got into his small house and walked up the stairs to his room. This was Garrett. He recently got his own place by working hard at a construction site. Originally, Garrett lived with his brother Stephen, but there was an incident that happened many years ago that caused Garrett to not live in the area where Stephen's house was. Garrett sat at a desk and pulled out a small box that had audio tapes in it. Garrett pulls out a dusty tape recorder and the tape, putting the tape in the tape recorder, and begins to record. Entry log number 1. My friend asked me if I can give them my experience with him for a book they are working on. So I've decided to record everything in tapes for my friend, Garrett says. Anyways, May 7th of 1995. My parents were going on a honeymoon trip and I was sent to my older brother's house, Garrett says as he reminisces about his time with his brother Stephen. Stephen was 8 years older than Garrett. He was a mechanic who worked for Ford for half a year and then went to be a freelance mechanic who was quite popular in the area Stephen lived in. So, of course, Garrett was happy to spend time with his brother. For the first 3 days, we mostly played Mortal Kombat on the SNES and went to see a movie on the second day. But then day 4 came, Garrett says as he sighs, remembering what happened. Day 4 was when things got odd, strange even. Garrett says as he stops recording and takes out tape, labeling it to tape 1, then moving on to record on another tape. On the morning of day 4, people started to find that their trash cans were knocked over and it looked like they were dug into. Then in the afternoon, police sirens were heard, Garrett says. It was discovered that someone broke into one of my brother's elderly neighbors' homes and Garrett says as he tries to keep focused but had a hard time thinking about what he and his brother saw. Her torso was ripped open and her kidneys were gone, Garrett says. Just like me and many others, the police were horrified by what happened to the elderly neighbor, Garrett says. Little did I know at the time, I would be seeing the one responsible later that night, Garrett says, letting out a harsh sigh as he continues on. Later that night, I woke up in the middle of the night due to what felt like some extreme stinging pain. My brother rushed into the room I was sleeping in due to my scream, and when he turned on the lights, he gasped. I looked down and I screamed, Garrett says as he continues on. I saw that my side had been cut open, the wound being fresh. Before my brother took me to the hospital, I noticed my window was open, even though I remember having it closed before I went to bed, Garrett says as he lets out a slight cough. When we arrived at the hospital and when I was examined, it was discovered that my kidney was gone, Garrett says. My doctor was confused and at a loss for words about my kidney seemingly being taken from me, and my parents had to be called about what happened, Garrett says. My mom wasn't happy about their weekend trip being cut short, but thankfully they did decide to come home early to pick me up, Garrett says as he stops the recording and labels the tape as tape number 2. He inserts a third tape and begins recording. Next day, me and my brother went out for some ice cream while we waited 2 days it would take for our parents to get back, Garrett says. It was also discovered that 25 different murders by the same man took place before me and my brother got to the hospital and after me and my brother got ice cream. I then heard my brother mutter, damn, he's fast, under his breath after finding out about the news. I then hugged him tightly because I was scared that I would die the next time. I was also scared that Steven would die too. So I made sure we hung out all day, with me desperately not wanting it to end, Garrett says as he slowly forms a tear. But sadly, the day came to an end, and this would be the last time Garrett would see Steven alive. I woke up in the middle of the night again, but this time it wasn't because of pain, but fear. Fear that thing would be back in my room to kill me off, Garrett says. I woke up, and I saw it. That thing that stole my kidney before. It looked like a man in a black hoodie and black sweatpants. But then I looked closer. What I saw were all black clothes was actually fur. And the mask was not a mask. It was that damn thing's face, Garrett exclaims with a hint of anger in his voice. The thing then dove right onto me, holding me down and was trying to claw at my side it stabbed the previous day. I screamed for help, but I got no replies. After a bit of squirming for my life and screaming, I realized that I would have to face the creature on my own, Garrett says as he stops the recording and labels the tape as tape number 3. Garrett then puts in one last tape and begins recording. I managed to kick the fucker in between its legs and it rolled over, letting out some sort of screech, Garrett says. I was able to get up, and I decided to take a picture of the thing with this small disposable camera I had lying around, Garrett says as he holds up the phone and looks at the picture. I then proceeded to throw a metal chair that was near the desk in the room I was residing in at the thing, and then crawled out my room through the window, Garrett says. But I got too tired and I passed out, waking up in the hospital room to see the doctor from before and my two parents. My parents were happy to see that I was okay, and I asked them about Steven, Garrett says as he slowly tears up. They looked at each other and looked upset. This caused me to fear for the worst, and sadly, my fears were confirmed, Garrett says as he sniffles. We went back to his house so I could get my stuff, and that's when I saw it. My brother, Steven, laying on the ground dead with his torso ripped open and his kidney half eaten with some sort of black substance on the bite marks, Garrett says as he tries to continue on without crying. My brother was the world to me. He meant so much to me. But there he was, dead on the floor, killed by that thing, Garrett cries in anger. I decided to take the kidney, wrapping it up in some cloth so I could have something as a way to remember my now dead brother, Garrett says as he looks to his left, a shelf that had a glass jar with his dead brother's half-eaten kidney that was taxidermied a few years ago. Since then, the neighborhood my brother lived in had become a mess. There were more murders by that thing, and even murders done by people who were negatively affected by the creature's actions, Garrett says. But here's the thing, Garrett says as he pulls out a shotgun. Since then, I have felt its presence ever since the death of my brother. Ever since, I make sure to use these high-tech locks that can only be opened by one special master key that I always carry on me. This especially goes for any windows. Speaking of windows, I had them replaced with bulletproof windows so that thing can't simply break in, Garrett says as he loads his shotgun. I also have installed security cameras that are protected by these titanium cages to prevent anything or anyone from destroying them, Garrett says as he pulls out a newspaper. I also did some research, discovered that there was this college boy in his early 20s who vanished at the same time the creature appeared, Garrett says as on one of the cams the creature could be seen. Anyways, I'll get these tapes, newspaper, and the photo I took. I just need to deal with some unfinished business, Garrett says as the creature got in through the back door that Garrett left unlocked and open on purpose. Garrett finishes the recordings and puts the tapes, newspaper, and photo away in the box as the creature approaches the doorway of his room. Huh. Missed me? Garrett asks as he turns to the creature who killed his brother oh so long ago. Kidney, give it to me. The creature snarls as Garrett cocks his shotgun. No, Garrett says as he aims it at the creature and fires.